Hey everybody, in this video I'm going to go over how I build a message market fit engine that will compound your go-to-market learning. So before I dive into the code and the output and everything in the system, I do want to give credit where credit is due. Jordan Crawford has been putting out great content for a while now, and it's really helped me in my development and my insights. And I wanted to shout him out recently because recently he put out these couple of videos that I highly recommend, that kind of gave inspiration and insight into what I'm about to show you. So shout out to Jordan. I highly recommend his content and his videos. It's been extremely influential in my thought process. So what we'll do is we'll pop in here. So what this tool does, there's an issue with Outbound where you have your data living in your sequencer, and then you have your data living in your CRM, and it's not all compiled into one centralized location. So what this does, it pulls all that information out, and then it runs a compounding learning loop over all that information to identify winning patterns, propose additional experiments. As you run this, right, you're going to have institutional memory, compound learning, refine hypotheses, so you're not having ICP drift or message drift. And this really pulls from learnings of software engineering and combine them with go-to-market. And it's something that I wish I had when I was in go-to-market and early in my career before moving over into software engineering. So how this works initially, so I seeded a lot of this data with example data. You'll see, like, in the actual results, this may look very different based on what your CRM or outreach tool looks like. But initially, it's going to analyze all historical data, identify winning patterns, right? And then you'll be able to run this loop over a week or two period, get more information, pull in more insights, have LLMs run all across it. And I could talk about the tech stack a little bit and the implementation towards the end here, but I do want to set the stage of what this tool actually does, right? So run this over, you're going to find what winning message do you have to what ICP, like what type of company, right? It's like the perfect tool that you'll be able to use for your analysis in a markdown file, right? This is not replacing an SDR. It's just giving signal to the SDR. It's like, all right, we should be pushing this message to this specific person or this type of person. So we'll have the results, we'll have winners, losers, statistical significance, analyze experience, control, optimization, and then we'll have new experiments, new winning patterns, past experiments, is winning and losing, avoid failed approaches, right? And this is just for the seeding here, right? We can kind of skip down here for this learning loop. And so here's some of the experimental results. So we have an experiment. This would be like the campaign ID, like the status winner. These would be the campaign metrics. So the reply rate, meeting intent, booking rate. Did the experiment improve, right? And then we also have some learnings and some next steps. As we'll come down here. So we'll have the institutional memory, right? We're going to be pulling this and adding into this markdown file, adding into the data. So as we move over time, this compounds, which is the really cool part about it. So we have the compound learning. We want to avoid past failures, build on winners, identify best segments, extract key learnings. And here's some methodology behind the statistical significance. Some of the best practices within this project. And then we'll kind of scroll down towards the bottom, and here's the summary, right? So we don't want to repeat past failures. If we identify that a message to a certain ICP is not working, we want to kill that off and never repeat that again, right? We want to build on winners systematically. We want to compound our learnings over time. We want to have data-driven message iteration and institutional knowledge at a team level, right? So any members on your team can come in here, see what campaigns are working, see what messaging is working in a version controlled markdown file that anyone can also make additions to, right? Which is the real key insight. So it could be a cross-functional wiki. So we also have other success factors, tagging, iterations and statistical results. So that's the learning loop in itself, and now really set the stage for this. This is the output. So this is the message market fit analysis report. This is going to be the executive summary. This combines all your emails that you sent out, the reply rate, messaging tests that you've ran, ICP segments that you've worked. This is going to take your outbound data, your CRM data, put it in one centralized location that has been combed through LLMs, LLM calls, and as well as different agents using tool calls and web search and things like that, using Claude Agent SDK that's working underneath the hood to generate these reports. But yeah, so here we go. So inside of this analysis report, here's some of the key findings. We had a 33% reply rate, 15% of those 33 expressed meeting intent. And again, for this example, I seeded all this data. So this data is all fictional. And also for context, I built this project as if I was working at Datadog, right? If I was the go-to-market engineer at Datadog and I built this is exactly like kind of what we'd be seeing here as far as like the ICP and things like that, as you'll see in a little bit. But here we go. So here's the data set, total accounts, total leads, total message sent, and segment analysis summary. So what we're doing here is we're using analysis on the segments per persona, account, message angle, CTA. I mean, we're really getting granular on like the bucket approach that we're using to identify these winning messages, right? So here are the top 5 winning patterns. And we can go through here. Sample size, 39, median reply rate, right? And then we're able to pull out our subject line, message body analysis. And so we have an analysis of this specific campaign with a couple different replies that came through back to our outbound email, right? And then we can kind of continue on down through here. And again, this is all generated and seeded by me. In a real life example, you would have your CRM data export, you would have like a CSV, you would have this information. So you can just imagine, all right, for a specific campaign, you're able to pull in your message body, able to pull in your subject line. And if you're working with Smart Lead or Instantly or any of these other tools that allow you to have specific custom variables, you'll be able to see that as well, like right here, right? So if you're creating these custom messages in Clay, you can kind of see that little snippet right there. But again, you can come through here, get a really deep analysis like site reliability engineer lead from B tier accounts with an ownership and a question CTA, right? Or ownership angle with a question CTA. Here's the email that we're sending out, and here are the kind of replies or the statistics, right? And then we have bottom patterns to avoid, right? So reaching out to platform engineers at B tier, this specific message was not working, right? And you could argue, yeah, in a real life scenario, we would have more than 33 outbound messages, but that's not the point. The point is, we're able to identify some losing patterns here that we could kill off programmatically as we're running this analysis report. So I'll scroll down here. We have some overall insights. We clear pattern where technical pain points, cost, security, reliability correlates to higher engagement and strategic narratives across most personas, right? So that's a very key insight. So we can go back. We could create some campaigns. We could segment these again. One that's a campaign about cost, one's about security, one's about reliability, right? And then RSEs, they show the most consistent engagement across multiple angles. So that kind of tells me, all right, we're hitting up the right people, right? We just need to work on the messaging. And then we can keep on going down here for the analysis. Other factors to consider. And then here, we're using Claude LLM to come up with a couple more different experiments that we could test based on the data that we've had. All right, so this is compounding as we get more data and more insights. The LLM, the AI, is going to get better at giving us experiments and possibly giving us some signal versus noise. So so here's what I just mentioned a little bit earlier. So the SRE lead on a B-tier account, what angle do we want to test out or run with? Cost, right? Because we identified earlier that the cost angle was well performing. So the hypothesis, building on the pattern one's high reply rate, let's test a more specific cost quantification approach. And it actually comes up with some potential email copy. You don't have to go with this, obviously, but it kind of steers you in the direction. And so it has a couple more experiments down here. And then we'll go through here. And this is good to just get your brain churning. I was like, all right, maybe we could pull out some of these and run campaigns with them. Some of these would be good ideas, and some things that you might not even have thought about, right? So then we have other action plan this week, next 30 days success metrics to track, and full methodology and everything. So that is the report that is generated. Happy to dive deeper into how it is actually built using multiple different LLM chaining protocols, as well as using some agentic tool calling. And then, of course, I seeded this data with myself, but if you had CRM data, you had like a smart lead API, you had other custom data sets that you would want to add to this, absolutely can, and I think it would make this even more of a powerful engine. But this is just for finding the message market fit, right, for your specific ICP on a specific channel like outbound email. And the cool thing about it is it compounds as we run this loop. Run it this month, do a month's worth of outbound, run it again. You're going to get, this is going to jump up. All the data is going to increase. You're going to be able to pull out richer insights, have a lot more in-depth testing that you could then pull back into your meetings, and see what campaigns that you want to push further. But if you have any questions or anything like that, or if you want me to dive deeper into the tech stack or have any questions about that, feel free to hit me up, comment below, or shoot me a DM on Twitter or LinkedIn. Thanks.